thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your host, Jason Beck, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. No such thing as sickness. Yeah. Good morning, everybody. That's right. It's Friday, January 9th. You guys, man, 2026. And today is a National Balloon Ascension Day.
Gotta have that helium, right?
I was going to say, it's like, I guess that's like basically saying like national, time to get high on helium day.
That's right.
It all comes from Russia.
Oh, yeah, Russia. Oh, man. Is that why there's a shortage on helium right now? It's because it comes from Russia? Maybe there's sanctions on helium?
Well, it's a byproduct of petroleum extraction, and when it goes up into the atmosphere and becomes fugitive, it's gone forever.
Man.
You can't never recover it. So
we need to make a helium recapturing thing for the atmosphere that just kind of flies around like a drone and just sucks up all the helium out of the atmosphere.
And maybe CBD can do that.
Maybe. It's also National Apricot Day.
Whoop-dee. Let's go.
Yeah. Dr. Mark, I think you're going to love this one personally. It's National Static Electricity Day.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I got hair that generates static.
Yeah. I used to always trip out when the socks would stick together out of the dryer. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, actually, there's this thing that Sambo Creek sells. I think I got their name right, and they use electrostatics to do trichome head separation.
Oh, I've seen that.
Yeah, it makes a real super tasty hash.
I have seen that.
People have used static electricity now to basically do hashing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really cool.
Yep.
It electrifies your experience.
Static dry sift.
Yep.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And of course, you guys, it wouldn't be a Friday without it being National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day.
All right.
Yes. And on that, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above and down below to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, X, Instagram, Facebook, Kick, as well as on our very own website at www.highat9news.com. So welcome to everyone joining us from any one of those platforms, you guys. And man, this is especially for you, Dr. Mark, because a cannabis compound, Cannflavin B, reduced anxiety and improved social behavior in an autism model, Dr. Mark. A compound found in the marijuana plant called Cannflavin B. Sounds like it should be a rap song or a rap artist. Reduced anxiety-like behavior and improved social behavior in a commonly used animal model of autism, according to a new study published by Biomedicine and Pharmacotherapy by researchers from the University of Guelph. Is it Guelph? Guelph? Guelph.
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 Yes, in Canada. That's right.
Guelph. Oh, it's Canadian. Interesting.
Yeah.
The research focused on Cannflavin B, described as a non-psychoactive flavonoid, and tested whether it could reverse neurological and behavioral changes caused by prenatal exposure to valproic acid, better known as VPA, a laboratory method often used to model autism-related traits in animals. And in the study, adolescent rats received Cannflavin B at a dose of 0.2 milligrams per kilogram by injection. And researchers then measured behavior as well as brain activity patterns and inflammation-related markers. According to the study's abstract, Cannflavin B was well tolerated and ameliorated. Is that right?
Ameliorated?
Yeah, ameliorated.
Yeah.
There we go. Most of the observed VPA-induced changes. The researchers reported that the compound had aniloxtic-like properties in female VPA rats and also normalized society in VPA animals of both sexes, indicating the treatment improved overall sociability in both male and female animals exposed to VPA before birth. Beyond behavior, the team examined changes in neurological signaling across multiple brain regions, including the prefrontal cortex and hippocampus. They found that many VPA-linked disruptions in brain oscillations and synchrony were reduced after Cannflavin B treatment. And the study also reported that Cannflavin B lessened increases in LBA1 and microglycal marker associated with neuroinflammation, with effects varying by sex and brain region. In lab-grown neurons, Cannflavin B was also reported to normalize VPA-related increases in neuronal activity and promote more organized cortical firing. While the findings are limited to animal and cell models, the authors said the results support further study of lesser-known marijuana compounds beyond THC and CBD, including longer-term dosing and safety work before any clinical relevance can be determined. Well, look at that. Look at that. The rats are socially acceptable with Cannflavin B. What do you doctors have to say about this?
It's, again, super exciting. Cannflavins are in cannabis. In fact, I think they're extracted from the roots.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not exactly sure if they're made in the trichome. I think they are a secondary metabolite that and serve a certain purpose. Cannflavins have kind of like the same kind of antioxidant activity as the flavonoids.
Mm-hmm.
They provide color. It's the reason why some of the distillate is the color it is. And when you see kind of like that orange amber color, that's often due to not cannabinoids, which are mostly colorless or very light in color, but the intensity of the color of these flavonoids and Cannflavin type molecules are pretty intense. Yeah, Cannflavin B, I think Ethan Russo, the noted cannabis doctor, has looked at Cannflavin B and some certain preparations. And I think the more we look, the more we find that these things are active. And I don't understand all the biological activity that you described here. I was trying to do a quick Google on some of it, but I don't know. Maybe Dr. T, you could expand on some of the results here and how important they are.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really hear what they did to the poor rats, or was it mice?
They gave them. They were rats. They were rats. They were definitely rats. They were bigger than mice. So they gave them Cannflavin B, and apparently it made them more social acceptable in both males and females. And this was also for autistic rats. Now I didn't know rats could be autistic, but that's what this study is claiming.
It's a model, Jason. It's a model for autism. So
they probably fried their brains so that they can.
Yeah.
So they gave like in a microwave.
What I imagine.
It's a microwave.
What I imagine, Dr. T, is there's some type of autism model in the rats that has to do with some type of either memory or conditioned behavior in the rats, and they find that administration of Cannflavin B kind of tamps down that maybe I don't know innate reaction to respond to a situation in a particular way.
Right. When you see studies like this, what they're doing is they're trying to find that isolated magic bullet in the plant to see what it does. Maybe it can be added to a pharmaceutical formula, or maybe it informs us a little bit more about how cannabis works. So we're all exposed to Cannflavin A and B because it's in the plant, it's in the leaves, it's in the flowers. What happens when you smoke it versus eat it is interesting. You got to know, because you might be changing the chemical nature when you're smoking or when you're preparing an edible. So is it the same thing as eating it raw? And so that's sort of the next question. How they gave it to these rats or mice is important to know. Usually they're injecting it into them, and that's not normally how we take Cannflavin as humans. So we've got to do that sort of translation. This is really early preclinical studies. So, I don't know. Don't go searching for a lot of Cannflavin A and B to inject into yourself at this point.
Well, I feel like Cannflavin is like a name of a brand of maybe like a strain of flower that should be sold in a tuna can.
Okay.
I mean,
so you like the canned flower?
No, I don't. I do not like it. I'm not a fan of it. But but people that like it, they want to buy it. Like, there's a lot of things that when I walk through Costco that I don't buy. There's only a handful of things that I do buy. So, but obviously, if it's on the shelf in Costco, people are buying it, because otherwise it wouldn't be there. So
that's right.
So I look at it like that, I look at it like that. But I also feel like at the same time too, maybe they need to add Cannflavin B to Plan B.
Well, you're really reaching there, Jason.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Stretch harder.
Just saying. I think they should.
You're stimulating Jesse's brand to think brand knowledge.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of some kind of
Just
can in a can, Cannflavin in a can, right?
Just wait till you hear Jesse's story today, Dr. Mark. You'll see more what I'm getting at, and we'll probably talk about Cannflavin throughout the show. Cannflavin B for the win. Yes.
Yeah, it's not canna, it's just Cannflavin. Right?
There's an A in there.
There is not an A.
There shouldn't be.
It's just Cannflavin.
Yes.
Oh,
Cannflavin,
Cannflavin. All right, my bad. You guys are right. Yeah.
Flavin, because these things are flavonoids. Like I said.
Cannflavin.
Yeah. So
I feel like that would do well. That would do well as a name of a beverage. Cannabis beverage, right. Cannflavin.
Well, there is a beverage called Can, right, Jesse? Isn't there?
But it's not Cannflavin. Cannflavin would crush can. They would be the can crusher, because they would actually have flavin in there.
It's Jesse to crush a
and they could get Flava Flav to be the spokesperson. Come on,
Jesse.
Come on, Jesse. You know this is branding 101 right here.
Because grandma loves.
Sorry, but you're barking up the wrong tree a little bit there, Jason.
I don't know, bro.
So
I'm telling you,
burst your bubble.
We need to get Flava Flav to represent Cannflavin.
Well, now if you could get Flava Flav to do like a science video where he was like at a whiteboard talking about flavonoids, and then he spoke about Cannflavin, now you're getting closer.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, on that, we're going to roll into our first commercial, and we are going to be right back. I don't know. I think it's going to taste good. I think it's going to taste great. People are going to love it.
Just load it with sugar.
People are going to love it. They're going to love it. They're going to love it.
Right, Dr. T? Isn't that a good way to health? Just load it with sugar and flavor.
Loaded with sugar, yeah.
Oh, put some salt in there, too, for good measure.
You know, sugar and salt, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? It's a great combination.
That's how you make sure your flavonoids work, is you just put a lot of sugar in there.
Yeah. Well, I got another very interesting study for you guys. And this one, you know, that one was for you, Dr. Mark, and I have one for you, Dr. T. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Because they say that CBD triggers cancer cell death and suppresses melanoma spread through epigenetic pathway. A study published on Sunday by the Journal of Phytomedicine reports that the cannabis compound cannabidiol, CBD, demonstrated strong anti-tumor activity against melanoma by activating an epigenetic pathway that promotes cancer cell death and limits a metastasis. The research was conducted by scientists from Cunning Medical University and the National University of Defense Technology. Melanoma remains one of the most aggressive skin cancers, with advanced stages often resistant to chemotherapy and associated with significant toxicity. Notes to the study's researchers who say they set out to determine whether CBD, the non-intoxicating compound derived from marijuana, could offer a safer therapeutic approach while also clarifying how it works at a molecular level. According to the study's abstract, CBD significantly induced apoptosis and inhibited cell proliferation and invasion of melanoma cells in vitro, while reducing pulmonary metastasis in vivo using human melanoma cell lines and a mouse lung metastasis model. The team found that CBD not only slowed tumor growth, but also reduced the spread of cancer to the lungs. A central finding of the study was the identification of peroxisomine proliferator activated.
PPAR gamma. Just say PPAR gamma.
Oh, is that what that little baby Y is? That's still uppercase and
that's
gamma?
Gamma. That's right.
Okay.
PPAR gamma.
All right. PPAR gamma. PPAR gamma.
PPAR.
Yep. PPAR gamma as a key mediator of CBD's anti-cancer effects. Through pharmacological analysis, molecular docking, and protein level validation, the research determined that CBD activates PPAR melogamma, a nuclear receptor already known to regulate cell survival and tumor progression. Beyond direct tumor suppression, the researchers uncovered an epigenetic mechanism underlying CBD's effects. Transcriptomic and genome-wide methylation. Is that? Yeah. Oh, methylation analysis showed. Yeah, methylation analysis showed that CBD altered global DNA methylation patterns through formation of PPAR.
Tetrahedral complex. It's forming a complex with PPAR, so it's not able to methylate the DNA, which basically results in tumor suppression.
Interesting. This interaction led to demethylation and activation of LRSAM1, a gene newly identified by the authors as having anti-cancer properties. The abstract notes the upregulation of LRSAM1 marked enhanced melanoma cell apoptosis and suppressed proliferation. The authors concluded that CBD exhibited strong anti-tumor activity in melanoma by modulating the PPAR YTET1 complex and reduce demethylation of LRSAM1, thereby suppressing tumor progression. They describe this as first evidence that CBD inhibits melanoma progression by modulating gene methylation. And while the findings are preclinical, the study positions CBD as a promising therapeutic candidate for melanoma and highlights epigenetic regulation as a potential target for future treatment and development. Well, look at that. Dr. T, what do you have to say about this? This was for you, buddy. What do we got today on this?
I appreciate the start. Well, you can't talk about melanoma without bringing up Rick Simpson.
There we go.
He's that Canadian farmer who created concentrates by, and then applying it to skin melanoma, saying that it worked for melanoma. I don't think he was using CBD. I think he was using primarily type 1 flower.
He was using whole plant medicine.
Yeah, and he was claiming that it was working for his melanoma.
Yep.
So researchers are trying to figure out why cannabis has been helping with cancer for quite a while. And it had to be promoted by a farmer first, unfortunately. But the fact that they're looking at CBD rather than THC may not be that THC doesn't work. It may be that CBD is just easier to pass through the FDA than THC, and so all the researchers are focusing on CBD. And I'm a big fan of CBD. So we've known for quite a while that CBD has all these anti-cancer properties, and so it's great, particularly going through the PPAR receptor. And so the PPAR, it's a receptor that goes into the nucleus of the cell. And there are other actives in cannabis that do the same. I believe the CBGs also are activating PPAR. So, this is science trying to find that magic bullet again. Fortunately, cannabis has multiple bullets in it. And I suggest using them all.
Interesting. What do you say, Dr. Mark?
Yeah, so what's exciting here for me is that this is more of the peeling back of the layers of the onion to understand how it works, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we understand how it works, then scientists who are doing drug discovery can make it work better or make it work more selectively. And so, Jean, this is really interesting because I think we've known that CBD and actually the cannabinoid acids, not THC, but THCA, also hit PPAR. And apparently what it's doing is it's affecting this complex that it makes with TET1, which they now know is responsible for methylation and demethylation of these DNA strands. So this is very, very important to be able to understand the mechanism by which these things work. I mean, like you point out, Simpson. Yeah, Rick is an interesting case, but I don't recommend that anybody uses naphtha, which is basically lighter fluid, to do extractions in a crock pot in a garage, okay?
Are you saying that they're a crock for doing that?
No, just that, Rick, I think, became famous because it became called Rick Simpson oil. It's really nothing more than full spectrum extract, right, Jean?
Mm-hmm.
So we can call it full spectrum extract. You can get that in any number of products and any number of, dispensaries or whatnot.
But if you say RSO out there in the world, people know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
people know what it is, right? Some people call it FICO. What does FICO stand for? What, full?
I always something extract concentrate.
Yeah, something like it, some full spectrum. And anyway, make a long story short, the reason why, again, this is exciting is because there's a lot of us who are trying to figure out how these cannabinoids are working, and this helps us. This is the kind of research that inspires a lot more research, because now that we know how it works, we can make it work better, or make it work more selectively, or make it work at a lower effective dose. And yeah, CBD is certainly, carrying the torch here. We know CBD is safe, right? Because it is, can be tolerated up to high levels, right, Jean?
Well, especially because we know it's safe because they made CBD toilet paper.
Right. And the other thing I just wanted to expand on that Jean had mentioned, which is that we actually do know a lot about cannabinoids in cancer. And I would point to the seminal work by Manuel Guzman in Spain, who's really done a lot of work to show that, cannabinoids are anti-angiogenic. And we talked about this, I think, last week on our story, right? or Jean's story. I think I was sick. I was home in bed, right?
Yeah.
So Jean talked about this last week, which is the tumor's ability to sprout new blood vessels to basically feed the tumor. If you can cut off that supply, the tumor will shrink and go away. We've also talked about this several times. In fact, PPAR is involved in the pro-apoptotic activity that cannabinoids have. So cannabinoids, through their action on PPAR and some of these other receptors that we're still trying to figure out, promote cell apoptosis, which is a way of, maybe Jean could give us a more relevant understanding. The way I understand it is we call it programmed cell death. And so that one is when the cell is no longer viable, it dies and goes away and doesn't become cancerous or infected in other ways. The other things that we know.
I was just going to say, remember that chemotherapy kills cells, but it kills all cells. You really only want to kill the cells that are cancerous.
So the other thing we know about cannabinoids is that they're potent antioxidants, meaning that they quench free radical species that often lead to cancerous outcomes. So there are several different mechanisms by which cannabinoids can elicit anti-cancer activity. I think what this story points out to me, Jason, is we're learning more of the puzzle. We're peeling back the onion to understand how these cannabinoids work to suppress tumors. And this is great. While we were talking, I sent this paper to a colleague of mine because I want her to pay attention to it.
Yeah, make sure you send her the link to the episode too, Dr. Mark.
Yeah, okay, I'll do that.
Yeah. Jesse, what do you think about this, Jesse?
I mean, I can only echo what the doctors said. We've heard this a million times. We know that CBD and THC target cancer cells and kill them. The mechanism, as Dr. Mark said, isn't exactly understood, and seeing the layers be peeled back and learning more about how the mechanism works is super important. I'm excited.
I'm just impressed that I could get through all those big words.
Yeah. You did a good job.
Hey, thank you. I've been really working at this for you guys. Really trying. I see some of the people like, everyone knows Jason can't read, but you know what? I'm not gonna quit. I'm only gonna get better. And one of these days I'm gonna know that little uppercase little y means melanoma. Melanoma. Yeah, whatever. Oh yes, and on that we are
the Greek alphabet.
Hey, I'm trying, man. We'll get there one day. And on that, we're gonna roll right in to Dr. Jean Talleyrand. He's the founder of the CESC and of Medican, where you can get your doctor's recommendation online all the time. And if you want to be 280E exempt, you better hit him up, because otherwise you're gonna be paying a lot of taxes. That's right, it is none other than Dr. Jean Talleyrand.
Thank you, Jason. Happy Friday, everyone.
Yeah.
And my headline today is from Marijuana Herald by Anthony Martinelli. Medical cannabis linked to sustained improvement in depression, anxiety, and sleep over 2 years. A study published by the Journal of Affective Disorders reports that patients treated with cannabis-based medicinal products experience sustained improvements in depression, anxiety, and sleep quality. And overall quality of life over a 2-year period. So what are cannabis-based medicinal products? There are any products made from the cannabis plant. There are 3 types of cannabis, as you know, type 1, type 2, type 3, with varying THC and CBD ratios. So cannabis-based medical products can be in any form. They can be flour, they can be oil, they can be gummies, etc. So researchers from Imperial College London and King's College analyzed patient data from the UK Medical Cannabis Registry, tracking standardized patient-reported outcome measures at baseline and up to 2 years during treatment. Out of 34,563 registry patients, not very many, as of January 6, 2025, the team included 698 patients whose primary indication for cannabis was depression. For cannabis use with depression. All patients had to have used pharmaceutical medication prior to being prescribed a cannabis medication, and the pharmaceutical is not working. According to UK law, physicians prescribe cannabis using a start low and go slow approach, titrating up. Some products are registered, but most are not, creating a heterogeneous group of products to study. According to the abstract, improvements were observed across multiple measures of mental health, sleep quality, and overall well-being. These gains were most prominent in the first 3 months after treatment began, with scores continuing to improve or remain stable thereafter, suggesting an early period of improvement by a general leveling off over the long follow-up period. The study also highlighted that close overlap between depression and anxiety among patients in the cohort exists. We know that already. At baseline, 50% of the participants met the clinical threshold for severe anxiety, and anxiety severity was strongly correlated with depression severity, underscoring the high rate of comorbidity between the two conditions in patients seeking treatment. Adverse events were reported by 9% of patients over the course of the study. The most frequently reported issues were fatigue and insomnia. Importantly, the researchers noted that 85% of the adverse events were classified as mild or moderate, with serious adverse events occurring relatively infrequently. We know that from using cannabis ourselves. In their conclusion, the authors said that the findings support further evaluation of cannabis as a treatment option for depression, particularly in real-world clinical settings. At the same time, they emphasized that the study's observational design and lack of control group mean that no causal relationship can be ascertained, and that randomized controlled trials are needed to better determine effectiveness and long-term safety. So in Trump's executive order, twice it was mentioned the need for real-world evidence. Patient registries like the UK are excellent sources of real-world evidence. Registries in the United States, however, are fragmented, which slows progress in understanding the real world of cannabis. In my nonprofit cannabis research organization, our goal is to unify the data under a standardized method of collection. My hypothesis is collecting this information is that cannabis products in general will help with symptoms and diseases mitigated by the endocannabinoid system. As long as we're activating the endocannabinoid system in some way, the health and wellness of the patient consumer will improve. I don't believe we'll find a magic bullet product. Sorry, pharma. Treatment will be personalized and selected by the patient with guidance from a healthcare provider. I envision this as the future of all medicine, spearheaded by cannabis. So what do you think? Is cannabis the future of medicine? This is Dr. Jean Talleyrand with High at 9 News.
This to me sounds like pretty soon cannabis is going to be included in NyQuil. Dr. T.
In the water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude.
Or in your...
I mean, NyQuil is a liquid, so they could easily just add it to NyQuil, add it to its formulation. NyQuil makes you sleep.
Add what?
Cannabinoids.
Yeah.
His focus in THC.
You say add cannabis. I'm thinking, you're going to sprinkle some flour into a jar. And
I mean, you could do that too if you wanted. It probably wouldn't work as well, but
it's going to taste terrible. No, you're going to use, like, there's now clinical data, right, Dr. T, in humans that shows that CBN can improve sleep, right? So NyQuil has got this formulation that's called ZQuil, because there's like 3 Z's, like you're sleeping.
Yep.
Why not include? In fact, I think they're finding issues with. They were using, what was it? Was it melatonin as a sleep aid, right? Yeah. And aren't they finding some issues with that, Dr. T? I'm talking about products that just have melatonin. Thought there were some health issues.
There may be, I don't know, are specific ones that are coming up. Melatonin has been used for quite a while as a sleep aid.
Right.
Around 10 milligrams.
I think at high doses, melatonin could be problematic for some people. So maybe, again, Jason, what you're referring to is things like, well, we could put CBN in there in place. For the melatonin.
Yep.
Now the active ingredient, but it's still going to be sold at a drugstore.
Yep.
Profited on by a billion-dollar pharmaceutical company. It's not going to be some local grower somewhere. They're just going to add CBN into their list of ingredients.
Well, but at the same time, they're going to have to buy it from somewhere. They're going to have to source it from somewhere, and ultimately, all these compounds come from the plant.
From a cheap chemical manufacturer over in the People's Republic of China. Period.
Now that you may be right on. You may be right on that. I wouldn't be surprised about that.
So,
yeah,
so
I mean, commodity chemical synthesis happens where it's cheapest, right?
Mm-hmm.
And price wins all day long.
That's true.
And that is, unfortunately, that's Chinese-made chemicals. They are cheaper over there than they are over here, and price wins all day long.
Well, you know, there may be a point in time where we stop bringing things in from China. That those days may be coming sooner than later, Dr. Mark.
Well, this is where I disagree. I don't think pharma is going to capitalize on cannabis. I think that it's going to be I think that because it's not about a single ingredient. It's not about who you're inviting to the party. It's about the fact that you're having a party. Right. And so cannabis is having a party, not they don't. You can invite CBD, you can invite CBN, you can invite CBD and CBN, you can invite THC, you can invite CBG. It depends on the party, depends on the person. But the fact that you're having a party is what really is making you better, not who you're inviting. That's my opinion.
I agree with you to an extent, Jean, on that. But I think that consumer product companies that don't have a dog in the fight of getting an FDA-approved drug, and all they want to do is put out safe and effective products. So, like NyQuil, we were talking about NyQuil, right? That's not really a pharmaceutical; it's an over-the-counter kind of thing. And so, those are just made by huge consumer product companies that all they want to do is maintain their market share and have safe and effective products out there. So, I think if they start thinking about using cannabinoids, again, we'll just use CBN in a sleep type formulation, cough and cold syrup, I think that would sell. And who knows? I mean, what I would like to think of is, again, there's consumer product companies that are different than pharmaceutical companies who are trying to launch new billion-dollar drugs. These consumer product companies like the Pepto-Bismols and the, over-the-counter stuff, I guess, is kind of like a separate category that might take advantage of commodity cannabinoid active ingredients in their next generation product formulations.
Cannflavin B rest formulation coming to a department store near you. Just saying.
Only if Jesse gets the brand.
Yeah, right. I would kind of contend with you a little bit, Dr. Mark. I think that it feels like to me, and Dr. T, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like to me that the way that cannabis works, it's like a gateway to kind of the anti-product. So there's this thing that we know happens with the entourage effect, and like I love that the party analogy. It's the fact that you're having the party, not necessarily who's there. Cannabis is a gateway to understanding plant medicine, and once you kind of get into plant medicine and whole foods, there starts to be this whole concept of the fact that it's whole raw foods that are medicine. What you eat is almost more important than the drug that you take. And there's a social movement that's happening, and this is partly what's going on with Maha. We just turned the food pyramid upside down, and this is all why, right? Because the social understanding of what food does and what plants do inside of our bodies, and that our bodies are literally pharmaceutical factories on their own, right? And that they can take these things and extract and synthesize all the chemicals out of the different foods and the different products that are grown in nature. That understanding seems to kind of come down the line from people who use cannabis and be very common with people who use cannabis. So cannabis seems to sort of be this gateway to understanding plant medicine in that way. And then like what you're saying about product manufacturers, I mean, there's grandmas or whatever that want their bottle of something, and they want it to just say CBN for sleep on there, and it makes sense to them, right? But I think the new generations that are coming, there's going to be a change. There's going to be a shift. It's not going to be quite like that anymore.
there's going to be a shift. It's going to be a big change.
I don't know, purple colored grape flavored cough elixir. You think that's going away?
I mean, I don't think it's going away, but at the same time, when all of a sudden it could be, have some, some CBDs in there, and what I'm saying, maybe some Cannflavin B and some,
I like Jesse's thinking about it becoming the anti-product, right? So maybe those products aren't needed if you have a healthy intake of these plant-derived products. You're getting your CBN that way. You don't need to go buy nighttime ZQL.
Yeah, you can grow it in your backyard and let it get old in your closet, and there you go.
Yeah, but no more purple-colored grape-flavored syrup.
Right.
Yeah, I mean the whole concept of lean or scissorp or whatever they call it, right? Well, but that kind of leans into what I'm speaking of, pun intended, is that they have a very distinct difference in their minds between something that they get like Robitussin from the store where they can drink it and it really messes them up, and plant medicine.
Yeah.
So there's this difference between pharma products or industrial products and more natural plant based. And I even hate to call it a product because it's not. It's like, yeah, it's what the plant produces or what the planet produces, right? It's a planet product.
It's funny you say that, Jesse, because when I was sick last week with the MSG Wook flu, I started shopping around for some Robitussin, and I found that there's a all natural honey and lemon Robitussin.
Yeah,
so
right.
That's just marketing 101, right, Jesse? I mean, they're using their brand, but they're saying, and there's like a little sleepy bear on it because of the honey and
Well, they're doing that. They're doing that. I don't know if you know this, but that whole thing about lean or scissorp is such a big deal in amongst kids from the rap community. Like there's songs about it.
Yeah, they want to pour up.
Well, now it's because that happened. So those companies trying to get away from that. They clearly don't want to be associated.
You mean
with that.
like
It's not good for their company? So they're not making that purple lean that's super famous and super popular. So now it's actually really hard to get.
What is purple lean again?
Activist. It's Activist. It's Activist. The cough syrup Activist is what he's talking about.
It's a cough syrup.
Activist.
It's a cough syrup.
Activist is the main one that all the kids want. Like that's the one that they get the top dollar for. It's Activist.
But it's got codeine.
Yeah, it's a certain color, and they like to mix it with soda. Yeah, exactly. So
dextromethorphan B and codeine.
Yeah, they mix it. They mix it with exotic sodas.
Yep. So, but now it's hard to get, and it's getting harder to get because the companies are trying to get away from those colors and the things that make them popular.
I mean,
and that's why you're seeing that, Dr. Mark.
All they got to do is just start making them pink. Just making all the scissor pink. That's all they got to do.
How do you spell scissor?
ACTAVIS. ACTAVIS. Dr. T.
I wish Elias was here because he maybe he is actually listening. I don't know. It might. I don't know what? If he's there with
also,
Gabriel.
too, there's another brand that they're mentioning in the chat. There's also Qualitest, QUALI test. But Activist is the main one that all the kids are, really want.
Yeah, so it's crazy because it's actually super expensive.
Oh, it's crazy expensive, and these guys be spending bread on it, and I'm just like, why are you spending that much money on this?
Elias told me that the purple lean that's super popular is now like $1,000 a bottle or something like that.
Hold on, bro. Hold on, Jesse. I've seen these bottles go for all the way up to $1,500, but it's been $1,000 since like right before COVID. Okay, like I can remember.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I remember when it first came out, you could get bottles for like $300-$500 when it first started, and then all of a sudden there started to be a crackdown on all of these different like pharmaceutical outlets. You know what I'm saying, and whatnot, and then all of a sudden price skyrocketed up, and $1,000 a bottle is kind of your average price.
But I think the point is that from a branding perspective, right, which is kind of the way the human mind works as far as perceiving things, younger generations understand the difference between something like that, like lean, and a plant medicine like cannabis or mushrooms.
Mm-hmm.
And we've always done that. I mean, I even remember when I was a kid, like there were people who were in high school who would be like, oh, I don't use anything that's a powder. I only have mushrooms or weed, anything that's a plant, right? Like people have been like that for a long time. And I think that's becoming more and more the case.
I think it is overall. Like this younger generation is getting a little bit of wit about them, which I think is going to be good. But we'll see if that translates onto the future generations at the same time too. And on that, I think we're going to keep this train rolling. We're going to roll into our next batch of commercials. And so, I did talk to you guys yesterday and mention that there have been some ads that have been playing on Fox News for Schedule 3. And I just played the audio of them yesterday, but I was able to get them loaded up on the Stream Deck. So shout out to Gabriel and Elias. Appreciate that. And so doctors, I just want to give you the heads up. Do not get triggered by these ads. Okay. So, but these are currently airing on Fox News, and they are all paid for by America First Agriculture. Okay, so that's my little disclaimer portion on that, and here we go. I got two ads for you, and as we typically go at this part of the show.
Rescheduling cannabis, which was classified as more dangerous than fentanyl. Trump's action will destroy the cartel's illicit black market, expand medical research, and ensure seniors and veterans safely receive the care they need. Thank President Trump for delivering on another America First promise.
Oh, yes, and we're back. Stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you smash the like button. I know we'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it, and YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website, www.high9news.com. And if you ever cannot find us on YouTube, make sure that you're following us on X and Rumble, because you can always find us there.
Under President Trump, America is back. Trump's delivered the largest tax cut in history, putting more money in our pockets and restored America's economic dominance. Promises made, promises kept. Now it's time to fulfill another promise from President Trump and reschedule cannabis, which supports over 400,000 jobs and creates billions of dollars in economic growth. Reschedule cannabis and stack another win, Mr. President. America First Agriculture Action, Inc. is responsible for the contents of this advertising.
We are back, you guys, and we are back, and we are going to roll right into Dr. Mark Scialdone out in the great Green Mountain state of Vermont at St. Michael's University, and he is back.
Michael's College.
St. Michael's College. Sorry. What's the difference between a college and a university?
Usually a university grants higher degrees. We're just primarily an undergraduate institution. So
okay. All right. Okay. All right. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Size matters.
All right. Hey, fair enough. Fair enough. But at the same time, we are glad to have him back, and he is well recovered from the Wook flu that he caught from the Grateful Dead, and we're glad that he's not dead, and we're grateful for that. On that, it is none other than Dr. Mark Scialdone.
Thank you, Jason.
Yeah.
Happy Friday, everybody. Yeah, I didn't catch that from the Grateful Dead. God, Grateful Dead hasn't been around for how many years, Jesse?
Oh, fish. Sorry. So the fish flu. My bad.
Oh, the fish flu, yes.
Yes.
Come on, the dead never stops, dude. The music never stops. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I guess so. So we were at the Fish New Year's Eve show. This year, their extravaganza was all about milk. You can go look it up on YouTube and see it. But today, my story comes from ZME Science, and it is entitled "Cannabis Did Not Always Produce THC. A New Study Shows How the Evolution Figured It Out." Well, we have to say it right from the get-go. THC is not produced by the cannabis plant, right? THCA is. The precursor to THC is, but that's just a small subtlety. But this study basically, which was published on January 5th, says ancient enzymes reveal how evolution shaped cannabis chemistry and how scientists harness it. So cannabis did not evolve THC with a single elegant molecular stroke. Instead, the plant appears to have stumbled towards it by experimentally experimenting chemically, copying useful genes, and slowly refining a messy process into the precise cannabinoid assembly line we recognize today as the biosynthetic pathway to phytocannabinoids. According to a new study from Wageningen University and research, the familiar compounds THC, CBD, and CBC emerged from such an evolutionary period of biochemical improvisation. Oh, that sounds like a lot of fun. A musician, I love hearing biochemical improvisation. That's totally fucking cool. Okay, so by resurrecting long extinct enzymes and testing them in the lab, researchers have reconstructed how cannabis acquired the ability to make its signature molecules. You know, the ones that get you high. And the ones that don't get you high, like CBG and CBD. This is the first experimental evidence for how cannabinoid biosynthesis originated and diversified within the cannabis lineage. The results also hint something unexpected. The oldest versions of these enzymes may be better suited for modern biotechnology than their highly specialized descendants. So, when did cannabis enzymes pick sides? When did this happen? In living cannabis plants, cannabinoid production looks tidy. Different enzymes handle the jobs. One mostly produces the precursor to THC, so here they recognize, again, the precursor to THC is synthesized in the cannabis plant. Another focuses on CBD, and a third focuses on CBC. So we all know that in the cannabis plant, it makes THCA, and then when that decarboxylates, that makes THC. Likewise, CBDA decarboxylates into CBD, and CBCA decarboxylates into CBC. But evolution rarely starts with tidy enzymes. The Wageningen team showed that in the earliest cannabis-specific enzyme involved in biosynthesis was a generalist. Rather than making a single product, it converted the same starting material into several different cannabinoids at once. The starting molecule, known as CBGA, or the mother cannabinoid, right, cannabigerolic acid, modern enzymes push it down narrow chemical paths. The ancestral enzyme did not. It generated a mixture of THCA, CBDA, and CBCA. In the world of enzymology, we call that a promiscuous enzyme, right? Because it's not making a particular product, it's making many products. Rebuilding the enzymes from deep time. So to uncover this history, researchers used ancestral sequence reconstruction, a technique that allows scientists to infer ancient proteins from modern DNA. They compared cannabinoid-related genes from cannabis with those from close relatives, such as in hops. Using evolutionary models, they predicted what key enzymes may have looked like millions of years ago. And then they synthesized those genes and expressed the proteins in yeast to be able to bring these plant enzymes back to life. Well, this is a real kind of evolutionary moment, I guess you'd say. By being able to reconstruct these things and bringing them back to life, right? Like Jurassic Park. This approach let them not only look at the genes, but actually look at enzymes that the genes produced. So the results revealed a clear sequence. Enzymes predating cannabis showed no ability to process CBGA. The first enzyme unique to cannabis could process it, but it did so broadly, again, to produce not just THCA, but also CBDA and CBCA as well. This pattern, this generalist first, specialist later, is common in plant evolution. It gives organisms more room to explore the possibilities before natural selection locks in place to the most useful ones. So copying genes and inventing chemistry, while gene duplication seems to be key in cannabis plants' journey towards molecular specialization. When the gene duplicates, it can maintain the original function, and other gains freedom to mutate. So once the gene mutates, now the function can mutate. Sometimes that freedom leads nowhere, but sometimes that freedom leads to new chemistry. Cannabis appears to have used this as an evolutionary trick repeatedly. Duplications of a single ancestral enzyme allow different copies to drift towards different cannabinoid products. And over time, those copies became more increasingly specialized. This challenges earlier assumptions that CBD-like molecules came first, instead of the ancestral enzyme being able to produce THC precursors alongside others, suggesting that psychoactive chemistry emerged early, only later to be finely tuned. For the plant, these compounds were unique to matter to these plants because these were the only plants where these enzymes existed. And that's obviously one of the reasons why humans are so attracted to those plants, and then played a role in further evolution of the plant. So more likely their role were defense mechanisms. So a lot of people think that, again, the way that the trichomes are expressed on the cola, on the tops of these plants, that they were there as pollinators to increase pollinators, but also played central roles in defense, stress response, and microbial resistance. Chemical diversity itself can be an advantage in an evolutionary sense when there are threats that are unpredictable, especially humans. Ancient enzymes with modern advantages. So the study's evolutionary insight comes with a practical twist. The resurrected ancestral enzymes turn out to be a lot easier to work with than the modern ones. In yeast cells, they express more readily and function more robustly. What once was an evolutionary unfurnished turns out to be highly useful one, says Robin van Velzen of Wageningen University in Research in the press release. These enzymes are more robust and more flexible than their descendants, which makes them very attractive starting points for new applications of biotechnology and pharmaceutical research. This would be biosynthesis. They'd be able to genetically modify yeast to basically make cannabinoids. This matters because the demand for medically relevant cannabinoids keeps rising as plant-based production remains slow and variable. I don't necessarily agree with that, but okay. Biotechnology approaches, such as the use of microbes instead of fields, promise consistency and scale, but enzyme performance often limits progress. Ancient enzymes might offer a shortcut. Rethinking rare cannabinoids like CBC. Well, CBC stands out as a cannabinoid in the study because I think there are varieties that only express very limited amounts of CBC, but CBC's drawn a lot of scientific interest for its potent anti-inflammatory and pain-related effects, yet it appears only in very, very small amounts in cannabis. So according to researchers, this scarcity stems from enzyme specialization in the plants that have favored other pathways over the time course of evolution. At present, there are no plants that are high in CBC content. Introducing this enzyme into cannabis plants can therefore provide innovative medicinal varieties that are high in CBC. In the lab, the team engineered intermediate enzymes that form to produce CBC with striking specificity. This opens up possible futures into cannabis plants redesigned to favor rare cannabinoids or microbes or yeast to be able to produce them in a genetically modified way. So what evolution still keeps hidden? Despite the clarity and elegance of the experiments, gaps still do remain. The researchers note that limited genomic data from hops open the question of whether early cannabinoid activity rose just before or after the cannabis split from its relatives. Evolutionary reconstructions cannot perfectly capture the order of these mutations. So very, very exciting science here. This is really cool because it kind of helps us understand how the plant evolved to specifically make specific cannabinoids. And in looking at its ancestral past, now they might be able to come up with varieties that are high in CBC, John, which I think is really exciting because we have high varieties in its CBDA, right? Those are type 3 varieties. We have high varieties in THCA. Wouldn't it be also great to have varieties that are high in CBCA? So that's my story today. Happy Friday. I hope you have great plans for the weekend. Hope it's sunny, and I hope you have cannabis in your plans. I'd be interested in hearing what my correspondents have to say about this wonderful story. Thank you very much.
Dr. Mark, so I guess this is the true origin story of OG Kush, right? This has to be the true origin story of OG Kush because OG Kush is probably the best out of any of the strains ever created or came up with or crossbred or anything else like that. And we know that it's
well, I think by the time OG Kush appeared on planet Earth, it was probably already selected by humans. John, would you probably? Well, people were already breeding for higher varieties of cannabinoids.
Well, again, those would have been the Kushites. Those would have been the Kushites, Dr. Mark.
Well, yeah, sure. Whoever it is, I don't care.
Cannabis has been around since Neolithic, times when we went from hunter-gatherer to cultivation. So I would even propose that this generalization to specialization theme happened with humans interacting with it, where we would select the high THC, varietals that were mutated and cultivated those more often.
Yeah, I would say with indoor cannabis production and with breeding the way it's gone in the last 30 years, once we figured out how to breed for high THC, now it was all about flavors, all about profiles, right? Yep. And so now you have all these different, strawberry cough, blueberry this, blackberry that, whatever, OG this, anasulfur this. So those are all now selecting secondary metabolites, John, that aren't necessarily cannabinoids, but are the terpenes and the volatiles that basically flavor the plants. And that's what, breeders are using their nose. They're using their nose to say, hey, let's breed this. Let's not breed this. Let's take these two things and cross them, right? So
I bet you Cannflavin B was a big hit back then. Just saying.
Well, I would like to bring in first of all, our boy, rest in peace, Frenchie Cannoli, would have loved this article.
Yes, right.
His big fan of this kind of writing and this kind of science, and he would echo the fact that clearly the cannabis plant and the human species have been together for a very, very long time.
They've co-evolved.
Relationship.
Right. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
I see John shaking his head, so I think he agrees with that statement.
Yeah, and most people do. So even if you don't have even if you're not an evolution fan, you're more of an intelligent design fan. They kind of are very similar in their outcome as far as they go together. They're designed to go together, whether they evolved together or it was intended originally from the creator. It's kind of the same thing, and that's the cool part. But as far as like strain, you guys were talking about OG and its origins and stuff, and I want to bring a little knowledge to this, which is if you look at and know people who are huge hash aficionados in the rest of the world, they don't really care about THC levels at all. They care about color, flavor, look. Does it last? Some resins don't last as long as others. So, and there's legendary cultivars that are used for hash that are actually super low THC. They're like 4 or 5%, right, and then have like 13% CBD, and they're legendarily known for being way more psychoactive and getting you way higher. So really, Americans are the only ones that have this THC infatuation and associate THC with a higher level of inebriation or being high. But the rest of the world doesn't have that. In fact, they find that other cultivars that have different ratios actually get them higher. And I've experienced this too, where I've had certain hashes that are from somewhere else in the world, and they're just the experience of being high on them is radically different and really intense compared to something that's just high THC.
Mm-hmm.
Also, there's the thing of if you're just consuming a ton of THC all the time, your body really gets used to it. Your receptors, so you might say they just start to work really well.
Yeah.
And then having a new plant with a wide variety of different cannabinoids, your body is going to go, oh, and have a totally different experience. So we kind of have to bring this in. Like as Americans, we talk very myopically about flower and flower production and high THC, but in the rest of the world, that really doesn't exist.
It's kind of like I've been thinking about this analogy as I was reading this story, which is it's kind of like a deli that sells 3 different sandwiches.
Yeah.
And in one location, everyone really likes only one of the 3 sandwiches, right? So guess what? That deli specializes in that one sandwich, right?
Mm-hmm.
But other people, hey, you know, like it's kind of like the cannabis plant had a mind of its own. It's like, let's see what humans are going to like here. You know,
well,
let's see where humans, and let's see how I have to mutate my biochemical synthesis to suit humans, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I think there's a lot of coevolution here. It's a really fascinating story.
Yeah, this is a great
level, right?
Yeah, without a doubt.
And Jason, you wanted me to mention something about next week's story?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so I found this really exciting article this morning that I tried to add to the program here, but no, we wanted to talk about this other article that I covered. And this was a group in Korea had identified new biologically active compounds from cannabis. They have one new one that I've never seen before. It's the first time I'm seeing it. I got super excited about it. So I'll be covering that next week on High at 9 News right here.
Yes,
sure you tune in.
There's a kimchi compound. Yes, there's a kimchi compound that we will be discussing next week.
Smash the like button.
Yeah, smash that like button.
Smash it.
Yes, and on that, we're going to roll into our final commercial, and we are going to be right back.
Oh, man, your knees still bothering you, man?
Yeah, my left one, you know? But I'll tell you what, I've been using this new CBD cream, and it works like a miracle.
CBDs? I done heard about them CBDs. I was out there on them Twitters the other day, and I heard they get you high as a kite.
Well, not this stuff. This stuff is tested. Every batch, all the way through, pharmaceutical grade, and in a GMP certified facility. So you know you're not going to have to worry about flying high.
GMP certified? I might have to try some of this out. Where I'm even find this?
You go directly to aimhighhemp.com and they will ship it to your door right away. Test it. It's not a name, it's a promise.
Too.
And we are back, you guys. And we're going to roll right into Mr. Jesse Barney. He's the founder of Barney Design Co. and can help take your brand to the highest plateaus, higher than you probably could have ever gone. And he's going to make your pockets fatter than they've ever been with his branding skills. That's right. It is none other than Mr. Jesse Barney.
Thank you, Jason. I appreciate that. My story comes out of the Marijuana Herald, our friend Anthony Martinelli, and the headline is Study, Young Adults Say Marijuana Enhances Pleasure, Connection, and Confidence During Sex. A new study published by the Journal of Sex Research reports that young adults who have sex under the influence of marijuana often describe it as a tool for enhancing pleasure and connection, as well as easing anxiety and self-consciousness. Researchers from the University of Quebec and Montreal and the University of Montreal interviewed 27 participants ages 18 to 24 in Quebec, exploring why they use marijuana in sexual contexts and how gender influences those motivations. The study relied on semi-structured interviews and thematic analysis, with findings interpreted using the gender structure framework, which treats gender as a social structure operating at individual interactional and broader cultural levels. The researchers grouped motivations into 3 categories: transformed sexuality, facilitated sex, and contextual influences. Across those categories, participants described marijuana as changing how sex feels physically and emotionally, changing how they navigate stress and insecurity, and for frequent users, becoming intertwined with sex in ways that are not always planned or deliberate. In the first category, transformed sexuality, participants often described heightened sensations, stronger intimacy, and a more expansive sense of sexual possibility. Many said marijuana made touch feel more intense, helped them stay in the moment, and contributed to sex that felt longer or more satisfying. Some participants also described improved arousal and a greater ability to reach orgasm, while others said the bigger change was emotional, feeling more connected, more, quote, in sync, unquote, or more open to trying new things with a partner. The second category, facilitated sex, focused less on intensifying pleasure and more on reducing barriers to it. Participants described marijuana as easing anxiety, helping them relax, and quieting intrusive thoughts that can disrupt sex. For some, it was about calming day-to-day stress and mental noise, including worries about schoolwork or interpersonal conflict. For others, it was about managing deeper distress connected to negative past experiences, including trauma. The third category, contextual influence, captured a different kind of motivation. Sometimes there is no clear motivation at all. Many participants said sex under the influence happened because marijuana use was already a part of their evenings, social settings, or everyday life. In those accounts, sex and marijuana overlapped incidentally rather than through a conscious plan to enhance sex. Some participants described conditioning over time, where positive experiences of sex under the influence strengthened an association between marijuana and arousal. Others emphasized routine. If marijuana is part of a nightly wind down, sex may occur in the same window without anyone making an intentional decision to combine the two. Participants also pointed to social contexts like parties or shared peer environments where marijuana can be normalized and shared with partners, shaping the atmosphere in which intimacy happens. Overall, the study argues that conversations about marijuana and sex often skew toward risk-only framings, missing why young adults may use it intentionally. Pleasure, intimacy, relaxation, exploration, and relief from stressors that otherwise block sexual well-being. At the same time, the interviews show that motivations are shaped by expectations about performance, beauty, availability, the emotional work of intimacy, and that those pressures can influence both positive and negative uses. I've experienced this. I think most of us who are cannabis users have experienced this, that using cannabis alongside of sex has an intensifying effect, or helps, or it makes it more enjoyable. And I'm trying to remember the term, but there's a thing that happens, and we talk about this often, where you're able to focus and eliminate things outside. Kind of gives you a tunnel vision. So if you have like negative thoughts or things like that, but you're focused on sex with cannabis, it's easier to eliminate all the other thoughts and not be distracted. And I think that's one of the big things that's happening here. Doctors, what do you guys think?
And this is exactly why I think that Cannflavin B should be added to Plan B, Jesse. This is exactly why. They just go together. Just saying.
It's all a marketing opportunity.
Just saying. Just saying.
Really trying to make Cannflavin and Cannflavin B and Plan B just
I really
somehow.
Cannflavin B and Plan B. They're one and the same.
Jason, your autism is showing, bro.
Well, this is one of the reasons why people picked the THC varietal back in the day, when they had the generalists flower types, right? The one that gets you aroused. Let's cultivate that one more.
Mm-hmm. Was that going to be THCV?
Or THCA? Or THC, or regular THC.
It wouldn't be THCD, huh?
I don't know that.
Oh my God. I see what you did there, Jason. THCV and D.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. THCV and THCD. You know what I'm saying? Take your pick, one or the other. You know what I mean?
Jason's discovering new cannabinoids.
Yeah. Dr. Mark, you're gonna have to find that other one. We found one of them. Yeah. We're looking for the other one.
I'll get to work on it in the lab.
Doctors, what's the term for that? Why am I spacing that with the ability to focus and eliminate other distractions?
You mean the condition?
Well, I don't know if you'd call it a condition, but it's when you use cannabis, you're able to focus and kind of be very myopic. There's like a tunnel vision.
You basically, you put your blinders on.
You guys have said what the term
for everyone.
is.
Sometimes it's the opposite for people. I think the ADD people like that it makes them, or ADHD people like it that it makes them focus.
Right.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's everyone. Some people it distracts them.
Well, and if you think about the underlying cause of PTSD, right? I mean, someone's stuck in a do loop in their brain and they keep on remembering something. So there is obviously a mechanism that's underpinned by probably CB1, I would imagine, Sean, right? Helps people forget about things. So maybe, if you're consumed with, your rent and your kids and your other things, it's difficult to focus on being there in the moment with your partner. So maybe, again, some of the same underlying mechanisms that cannabis helps in PTSD is helping here too, Jean. I don't know.
Well,
behavioral.
Michael Minardi with Minardi Law, he says, I think it can be strain or terp specific. And you know what? I don't know, Dr. T, if you remember. Do you remember Dr. Garfield? He was an old doctor. He was like in his 80s or 90s when I knew him, like way back in the day in like the 2001, 2002. And I used to have him come over to the shop and do doctor recommendations for people. And I had this strain. I had this strain that was a very, very popular strain, very popular, called Sweet Nightmare. And he used to be like, you know what? I love that Sweet Nightmare. It's the best thing for my libido.
Oh.
And so I wonder if Michael may be onto something, that it may be kind of more strain specific or terp specific for individuals too, as opposed to compound specific.
Yeah, we ran an early test on that and did see that a particular chemotype seemed to be more preferable for arousal. So yeah, possibly. But like I said, the evidence usually points that people are different and different strains help different people with things.
Jean, talk about ED and vasoconstriction versus vasodilation, because I think it's known that cannabinoids, the THC and CBD in general, act as vasodilators, right? So opening up blood vessels for blood flow. But is that how things like ED medicine works?
Yeah, it has this, and I believe that it's the opposite effect. The the dilation may cause a constriction with different receptors, and so to get your to get you aroused, to get you to have an erection, you're gonna need to improve the blood flow, but also stop it from coming out. And so, the vasodilation is helpful in terms of improving blood flow. But I think this is more of a psychoactive effect on arousal.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. But it's known that cannabinoids are vasodilators, right? So they, right. So and that would decrease blood pressure, right? Because if you're increasing the size of your blood flow, or the canals that blood flows through, you're increasing your blood pressure, which is related to the way that ED medicines work, right?
Yeah, it has some vasodilatory effect at the level of the erection, in your penis.
Right. But I take your comment before saying that this is more about the psychology of how the arousal might be affected by the patient being scattered in their thoughts or being focused on there in the moment with their partner.
Right. Like you said, memory issues, just that euphoria that you get. All of it.
You're trying to forget about a bad experience with a prior girlfriend or something.
Tell us about it, Mark. Tell
us more, Dr. Mark. We have this
on running through your mind like in a PTSD kind of way.
Oh man. Well, this was a fun story, Jesse. This was great, and I have one final story for you guys today, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy this, and it kind of ties in with all of the other stories that we have covered today. Also, we have this whole little unique tie-in today, doctors. I think you guys are really going to enjoy, because there's another study. Get out of here.
Cannflavin B?
No Cannflavin B in this one, but there is CBD-Rich cannabis oil, and it's linked to reduced ADHD symptoms in children and young adults with autism. That's right. A new study published by Current Neuropharmacology reports that CBD-rich cannabis oil can help reduce attention deficit hyperactivity disorder symptoms in children and younger adults diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, particularly in cases where traditional medications have fallen short. The research was conducted by scientists from Tel Aviv University and followed participants over a period of up to 6 months. The prospective open-label study enrolled 109 children and young adults with autism and clinically significant ADHD symptoms between late 2019 and early 2021. Of that group, 53 participants were evaluated using the Corners Teachers Rating Scale, a standardized assessment completed by school teachers before, both, and after treatment with CBD-rich cannabis oil. The product was administered for a period ranging from 3 to 6 months, allowing researchers to access changes in behavior within a classroom setting rather than relying solely on parental reports. And according to the findings, teachers reported statistically significant improvements across several behavioral domains. These included reductions in anxious or shy behavior, emotional instability, hyperactivity, impulsivity, and overall ADHD index scores. Measures tied to perfectionism also improved and suggested potential benefits beyond core attention symptoms, and additional improvements were observed in areas such as opposituational behavior, cognitive inattention, and global functioning. Though these were described as secondary trends rather than primary outcomes, blood testing conducted before and after treatment measured levels of CBD and its metabolites, and researchers found no consistent relationship between cannabinoid levels and behavioral changes, with one exception. Higher CBD concentrations were associated with greater improvements in emotional lability and indicating a possible dose-related effect on emotional regulation. The authors note that this is the first prospective study to use teacher-based assessments to evaluate CBD-rich cannabis treatment for ADHD symptoms in children with autism. And while the open-label design limits the ability to draw firm conclusions about causation, the results add to a growing body of evidence suggesting cannabinoids may play a role in managing attention and behavioral challenges in this population. Researchers concluded that CBD-rich cannabis oil may offer a potential therapeutic option for reducing ADHD symptoms in children with autism, while emphasizing the need for randomized controlled trials to confirm efficacy and establish optimal dosing. Look at that, you guys. Look at that. We brought it all the way around. We started with the rats and we ended with the kids. All in a positive way. Cannabis has had such a great day today. I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
You mean started with rats and ended with rugrats?
Oh, I see what you did there, Jesse. I see what that was cute. Fair enough. Fair enough. I'll take that. I'll take that all day to the bank.
Who exist because there was no plan B.
Because there were people playing on the rugs. They were cutting a rug, Jesse.
There, I did it for you, Jason. I tied the whole thing together.
I see what you did. I see what you did. Doctors, I think this is huge news.
Yeah, it's not really news though, right, Dr. T? We've known that CBD is an anti-anxiety drug for.
Yeah, but that's all been anecdotal.
Specializing it for use for kids with autism, I think, might be the punchline, right?
Well, we've known that too. Most parents, when they come to me with their kids with autism, they will ask to start with CBD because of the social stigma of THC. Mm-hmm. And often we find that that's all that CBD does work for them. And so they don't ever have to go to the THC world. But I think the real message is try different types. There's lots of alphabet soup out there. Find the one that works with you. Dosage matters. Dosage matters. So experiment with that too. And then you'll stumble on the one product or formula that works for you.
Would you say that your experience with your patients mirrors what they're saying in this article?
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And CBD is really interesting. It's like an SSRI in a way, right? Mm-hmm. It's serotonin receptor agonist. And so, it's going to have a lot of the same benefits that the SSRIs do.
Interesting. When the children patients come to you, are the kids currently on SSRIs and are CBD can be viewed as a replacement strategy for SSRIs?
Usually they're adding on, to their medication regimen. Often they've tried a list of medications. Sometimes they have side effects from the medication, and so they're looking for an alternative. But most of the time they're adding to their regimen.
Adding it, right.
Interesting.
Does that lower the amount of SSRI that they have to take, like lower the dose because the CBD makes it more effective?
I have several patients who have wanted to get off of their SSRIs, and so they had that intention already. But it would be an interesting study to see if they didn't have the intention, if they ended up reducing it. That's a hard one to tease out.
Interesting. Fascinating stuff, you guys. Any final thoughts on this, Jesse?
No, I mean, it's good news, as always. I mean, pretty much every study that comes out, we're just adding to the huge body of 30,000 plus studies that say that cannabis has medical value.
And
and for those who say that you need this randomized controlled trial, clearly we're able to work without that randomized controlled trial. Like this wasn't a randomized controlled trial, it was an observation study.
Yeah. Very true. Very true. And on that, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. And big shout out to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Huge thank you to Catalyst Cannabis for helping us keep the lights on over here. And thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing. And thank you to Cannabis Sativa L for giving us a reason to do this every day. And thank you to Cloud Media Pointers, Elias and Gabriel. They're somewhere in the metaverse. And thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show. Patented and trademarked.